African Affairs Analyst Paul Ejime joins me on the news from the United Kingdom via Skype to discuss this. Good to have you join us, Paul Ejime.
Thank you for having me.
So Ghana has a reputation for being one of the most stable democracy in Africa. So protests like this should be a rarity in that country. What do you make of this latest protest?
Well, in some ways, I mean, the fact that it happened peacefully compared to, other parts of the world. You remember Uganda, you remember Nigeria, then Cote d'Ivoire. African authorities are not known to handle protests in a way that will not leave casualties. So the fact that this one happened without incident or no reported one is a plus, I must tell you, because what has happened, and perhaps there is something to learn by other African countries about how to manage dissent, because it is a symptom. What you are doing, if you come hard on it and you stop people from venting their anger or expressing themselves in a peaceful way, you drive them into using violence. That is what it is. That is, one aspect. The fact that things are not going well in Ghana, like in most African countries, has been recognized, and the opposition has now said, okay, listen, we are expressing our views about what is happening, police brutality, and then there is this vigilantism. There is groups like thugs that are both the parties are alleged to be using some young people to cause violence. It's just not the ruling party. So that has to be stopped. But because the buck stops on the table of the government, they have to rein these people in. And there is unemployment. There is increase in fuel price, and some taxes are going up. So these are the things that people are talking about, that the government of Nana Akufo-Addo has to talk about, has to address. And will you believe, I'm hearing something now that the wives of the president and the vice president have been recommended for salary, to earn salary in a situation in the country that is facing this kind of poverty and hardship. So these are some of the contradictory policies that give rise to discontentment and then friction, that anger that often flares up. But I think the police of Ghana should be commended for doing, even though they have not allowed, there is another brewing protest, the one they call Fix the Country. They haven't even allowed these people. They're only doing their own protests on via Twitter.
I want to get to that. I want to get to that shortly, Mr. Ejime. I want to get to that shortly because this has a lot of issues at the heart of this protest. But let's look at the fact that this protest is led. It has a lot of leaders, but one of the people who are participating in this protest, one of the groups participating, is the main opposition party, that's the NDC, National Democratic Congress, led by former President John Mahama. And many people believe that that does give it a political coloration.
It may well be, but what you will do is to look at what they are protesting against. Is there unemployment? You have crime. The police killed in April, last month in June, in the southern region of Ejura. 2 people were reported killed and 4 were injured. These are facts. So instead of going after trying to kill a mosquito with a sledgehammer, you sit down and address it. Now you will ask the people who are now protesting, what do you want government to do? They have now submitted their petitions to the government. You believe they took their petition to the presidency, the Jubilee House, and also to the parliament. So hand it there. And that is what it is. What government can now do is to engage to consult, to ask them, okay, yes, we are in government, but we don't have a solution to all the problems. Can you tell us how can we alter, this the country belongs to all of us, how can we, crack it? How can we solve these problems? You'll be surprised that opposition, the fact that you are in government does not give you monopoly of, views or intelligence or, about how to solve issues and solve problems. Those that are not in government, non-state actors, they can also be brought in and say, well, listen, the government is not doing well in this side. Otherwise, look at the issue of approving salaries for non-elected wives of president and vice president. How does that add to how can you justify that? These are some of the issues. And you expect that when you come up with this unpopular and anti-people, poverty accentuating policies, that people will not talk, or they will not give you...
Because of my time, I really hate to interrupt you, but because of my time, I wouldn't want to end this conversation without touching on one of the issues at the heart of this protest, which is the police brutality. We also saw that situation in Nigeria last year, October, where Nigerian youths also came out saying, look, end police brutality in Nigeria. Why do you think that we're seeing this level of police brutality, not just in Nigeria, but also in West Africa, as it seems?
Well, it's not just West Africa, it's the whole of Africa. What is happening is that you have what you call youth bulge. You have a high percentage of youth. If you look at the population, the demography of African population, it's a young, relatively young population where you have young people, youth dominating, people between from 1 to 30, 35 years. And largely, they are not in school, some are not, they don't have education, and they don't have jobs, and there is no infrastructure to take care of, there is no way to keep them busy. That is why some of them have become, willing tools in the hands of politicians. They give them, multiplied by the poverty. So you just give them a little amount of money, how many CD or Naira, and then you ask them to go and kill, and they do that. But if they were busy, if they were occupied, and I don't mind, they said, it's the devil's workshop. If they were in school, if they have skills, all of them will not have to go to university or whatever. But provide this skill acquisition, engage the youth. When they are not engaged, they find a way of expressing their exuberance. And that is what you have. When you have that kind of level of unemployment, there will be social upheaval. There is anti-social behavior.
We do have to leave it there just because of our time. Thank you so much for always helping us make sense of issues like this. International Affairs Analyst, Paul Ejime.
Thank you for having me.